it's a little bit of a mystery. We're still working these things out when it comes to colour change, but there's some clear patterns, which I'm not sure if it's like genetic or just instincts, or they just prefer to do whatever they like, and maybe just that's it. That's how they work. I mean, the Slenders are the wrong colour. It's supposed to be purple, red, maroon, and that's the colour. It's a good question. It's a bit existential, but anyway. Right, well, I should mention a few other things about these animals. One thing is actually to know that they can change colour. Come on in, folks. So when colour change in these animals is very normal for them to do. They just change colour. The skin can take that pressure quite easily. And then you get a little bit worried why they choke each other. I've already noticed it, yeah. With all those friendly headlocks, they're not trying to kill each other. It's basically just an instinct to grab one from the nearest thing next to them. I can dip my hand in the water and they just, I don't seem like a threat, they just grab me. Yeah, learn my lesson, they don't do that. They are very strong again, remember. They're able to take each other's tail pressure with the strength of their tails. But honestly, I would not be surprised if it can be a fairly big rope. If anything interferes with it, or if they mess up the dance, they just keep going at it and starting again. And you'll see 3, 2, 1. There he is. Pouch opens right up. It's actually a little fin right here on the female. That will line her up with the male, and in front of that little fin is the ovipositor, the funnel for the eggs. So her eggs go to him, they fertilise the eggs on the outside of the pouch. Bob's your uncle, you got a pregnant male. And they've also made it for life too. And there he is. 25 days later. That's all it takes. This all happens in less than a month most days. Most months, I should say. And it's a fish. And it's a male and it's giving birth to live young. So there's the first. Only one of its kind actually. Now the amount born will vary again. You know, you've got different sized babies and adults. For a pot belly series, I believe it's about 150 to a couple hundred, but there's been record births like those Slenders, for example, like 2,000. I'm pretty sure those, getting the name wrong again, Brevy sets. There we go, I remembered again. I'm pretty sure about a week and a half ago or so, there was a birth in there, it was like only 18, 19 babies. Very few, because their babies are so big compared to their adults. But we had a record birth for these fellas. Any guesses? 1,116. Remember, the average is at most 200. So, poor bugger, he had a prolapse. Don't look that up. And he's high, but not very happy. And yes, we count the babies. We do, every single time. You move and you count them. Yeah. Not fun, apparently. I don't get to do it. But yeah, that might have happened maybe. And make the life, maybe. So I can't say for sure, we won't really observe them that closely at the time. But we'll try and make sure there's not too many girls. Get that up, one's that one over there. That's the other one. We can go down a couple of go around the region once. I'll leave this up here so you can have a look at it. You've got, using the scientific names here, so I'll work with you. Abdominalis, legs, white eyes or whites. And you've got Margaret Barbers, elongatus, that's a tiger snout, the West Australian Seahorse, Frida, yellows, Frida, is Slender, the next top 5 cent point. Told you they're tiny, and so you need tiny food. What we typically feed our adult seahorses, and the large one at least, is this stuff. It's called mice and shrimp. It doesn't look like much in my hand right now until it frozen up. It looks more like a slurry, loosely. When it's in the water, it'll frost a little bit and you'll see a lot better. So, just so you know, these are about the size of a newborn. They can't eat it. That isn't designed for it, is it? Maybe just suck up food, suck it up whole. They don't really have much in the way to chew their food up. Basically, through this can for a face. Lid, that's jaws, and nobody, and that's the size of the opening to get taken how much of it is. So we use sea monkeys, actually, or Martinia. Also, a bird of the student is one up there is actually what they do eat out in the wild. So we feed them sea monkeys because they're more common to get the knees there. Pressure points though are a bit hard to get a hold of. They're much more expensive. But nothing wrong with the sea monkey. It's something to get too. It's standing right next to it all the time. Probably like keep you in there. See, what I'll usually do is, on my tours, this container, at least today, is going to be filled up with a bunch of sea monkeys, and then we'll turn it into the bucket. I'll grab a scoop, and there's like 50 to 100,000 sea surf and feed one spot at a time. We'll do that every tour pretty much, except for this one, because we ran out. About 1.5 of these every day. Oh, I should have mentioned as well, the road for this, they're just for really small seahorses. They can barely eat it, sea monkey different. So getting something a little bit smaller, it's not that hard to get, from my understanding. But it's still easier to just use sea monkeys when they're a bit older. I was just saying, it's actually really not ideal to mix and match. For a lot of reasons. They get long. A whole room of just photos. So this over here, this is the mice trips, that's the adults. And then see all these inspection downstairs and see babies. There's some adult ones in there you can see floating around. And all those tiny little particles, those are the sea monkeys. So that actually maybe looks like a couple of cups. Yeah, so maybe a couple of cups. They're an animal that lives for a few weeks, but they're very private. Yes. Oh, yeah. And then you have primary school, you have high school. Now, high school, by the way, is separated by male and female. So the ladies are again, and the males are the middle. So what we do of them, you're probably wondering by now, is we sell them. So we go around the world, we ship them around, we carry it up there nice and match, and this is how they get cranked up. We draw up there. And it's mostly for boats or maybe worry about diseases, bacteria, viruses, parasites. See, we can look for water or high degree, we basically get rid of all of that, but things get introduced all the time, and very easily so as well. You release that in the wild, it's released to bacteria and viruses, and they're probably not going to survive like out there too. It's different ecosystems. It's like going to another country and drinking straight out of the tap water from the NEF on the sea. And 0%. Right. You can make sure the release babies later in the same food. It's not easy. So we go around for 45 years to get things going. At least not only legally allowed, but there are only cases of different population, for example, of the wife actually. I don't know too much about the details. I know that there need to be stay habitat for them, and that helps when they release them to that. So you're probably better off looking up online, so I'm not researching myself. It's just a recent thing that's happened. In Sydney, the white seahorse. And that's it. You wondering how much they cost? $25. I don't know about wholesale, it's probably a lot different. Yeah, it's not unreasonable, it's more just time it takes to set up the tanks for these animals. They're obviously saltwater. I mentioned saltwater the whole time, saltwater. So you can't just get ocean water either. You have to make your own, and that can take forever. My sister did it, after like 8 months, 10 months, somewhere in there. Not very well, but you do it. It's not impossible. It's like any other pet, there's got to be a bit of work done. You know what, in the Gulf, we live for a very long time to take care of it. Like people come on and go, oh yeah, like half a year is pretty good, isn't it? No. I haven't mentioned it, no. Like, these guys live for 10 years easily in here. Easily. You get some parts 10 years sometimes, 11. Okay. Alright, do you have any questions? Am I making sense? We're going to feed some more. I'm going to feed that tank and that tank over there. Just so you know, they make 7 and 8. They And I'm not trying to make you look silly, but if the rest of Europe gets tranquilized while they're eating, you'll hear a little cough, to the water. Or feel free to move into the next room. A bit early, but that's fine. Yeah.
There are some performance seahorses here, by the way, just keep it on your chest and belly. They're not doing it. Move my head up like this. The other ones.
Little pop, very light. Nearly off the ground. Don't know why. Maybe he heard it off the ground, but in general he's not being used. I've actually noticed the two over there on the right, one of them, he had a pile of food in front of him, he was pushing all the shrubs out of the way, he wanted the whole one, I think. Bring it on, it's really just pristine, really just... These are most of them on the farm, but I'm trying to see how they can grow. They're over 20 years old. They're over 3. So they carry direct from the back of their tails, unlike the Tasmanian Seahorse. They're clearly horizontal for a seahorse, not the same tail either. Again, you see the resemblance in that head. Just cousins, that's all it is. Related, not the same. And they're highly endangered actually, so to be a bit preachy, we're doing a breeding program, right? And these poor guys are the lowest numbered animals in the ocean. So basically, after all the breeding and releasing and mixing up the environment, there's currently about 1,500 spotted handfish, no more than probably about 3,000 out there. That's a lot higher when I started, it was like 24 originally. The breeds, they were thought to be extinct a few years back.
And currently there's about 70 to 100 left. They're the rarest fish that we currently know of. People just didn't know about it. We did research and they found in like the 50s and 60s, these types at least. Some others in the mainland which are different. And they called it a day basically. They said, hey, red spotted handfish, and that's it. We figured out the rough estimate on how long they'll live a few years back. We think about 10 years or so. You'd think we figured that out a lot earlier. These were in abundance originally, all around the Derwents, and all around Tasmania. And they used to actually use for animal testing. There's that many of them. It's cheaper than a rat. So, if that's any indication of how many there were. There's a lot more we did there. We have the aluminium smeltery across the road, just across the bay. So that's not really used in that way anymore. Well, I hope not. And it's just taken a long time to figure it out and breed them because we didn't know. We had one time no genders forming in our babies. That was odd. I think that was actually eventually fixed because we were getting babies, which is nice. And we actually use an X-ray machine, a ultrasound machine. Yeah, it's kind of hilarious. They put them in a little zip-lock bag and they scan them, punch them together. But yeah, it allows us to see either the ovaries or the gonads. These actually lay their eggs on a type of sea sponge, so we'll throw in close to work as a supplement. The male will come over and fertilise them, which is a lot different and a lot nicer than most anglers. If you didn't know, anglers are horrible, right? So let's say you got your female and your male. Your female's about this big, let's say. Male's this big. It's tiny. And his whole purpose in life from birth is to latch on the backside of the female, melt his face and body into the female, fusing with her, basically becoming one animal, and she'll then use him to fertilise her own eggs whenever she needs to. A bit brutal in my opinion. So we like these a bit nice. A bit better, a bit nicer. There you go. Couple of contacts for you, I guess. So spread the word. I get very few people that actually know about them. And I'm not shaming you, right? We weren't researching them ourselves until recently, right? Nice and firm on that there. So the best way to hold them is in a way where they won't move. And I'm taking advantage of a couple of instincts. So remember the friendly headlock bit earlier? That's what I'm doing. I've got him by the neck, or sorry, her. And she curls around my finger automatically. Those are the instincts. And you can come in and press just lightly to get a feel for it. Not rubbing the skin. Like if it happens once, not a big deal, but look, I'm sure for example, my dad came in here, he's got concrete fingers, he's going to ruin the skin of the animals. So you just got to be a bit careful, especially if this is like a male, for example. That belly is really soft, so you be very careful around that. And what I'll do is basically, I'll have a couple of people here, maybe one or two over here, and you place your hand on the water, palm up, and I'll place it in your hand. If you don't want to hold it, I can hold it for you. You can have it. A few people at a time. Put your hands in the water. Oh, and also with the hermit crabs, yes, they bite, so just grab them from behind and keep them underwater. They can't reach above themselves. Yeah, but they got some big nipples, so yeah. You can do that without just going and grab one. Anyway, so first come, first serve. Yep, in the water. I've got a long sheet of hair in front of my face, you can barely see a thing. Sometimes small people tend to hold a bit loose, so make sure you're holding firm enough. Yeah, space here, what's wrong? You want me to hold it while you pet it? It's not gross, it's not slimy. It's actually the reason why the skin is brittle, because there's no slime to mucus. You don't raise off.
Yeah, I did use it.
Let's grab some. Yeah. They don't like us, but I know. You want to say they don't really care for this, but I won't see it for a month sometimes. They get breaks like that. They stay here for maybe a week or two, and they're out for a whole month. We are taking care of this best we can. Big thumb, yeah? A bit firmer on the neck there. We grab them as tight as they grab each other, which is a lot. I've lost feeling in my fingers sometimes. I can grab that hard. Anyone else that hasn't had a try? Plenty of water.
Hey.
Keep going water. That's my numbers. The place yours up there. Really hold me around the body. Yeah. They're only little ones, but you can already feel how strong they are. Don't move next. Yeah. Oh, when you're done with it, just let it go. Then you get a new one. Where's the hand drop first? This is the one nice one. This is the whole fly around the neck. Up here. Like this. This is where the extra room is. Also, actually, when you go in, look to your left, there's a little poster. It's showing a cormorant, one of those large birds, off the wharf here trying to get seahorse. You got away, but it just shows you how big they can be. Get all written out. So that's that looks like a male too. Yeah, another one came over, fighting for the seahorse, and he got away. Good. This tent here as well has some sharks, some potties. There's the egg. You can see Zoe. See the other one there. We got Sydney. And another one in the very back in the shadows. It's probably heavy. Feel free to step up to get a better look. Because they like to sit on the ground, it's hard to see them from certain angles. Yeah, and all the fish in there are local, all found off the wharf. I mean, the sharks come here for breeding. Breeding ground below the wharf and in the whole Tamar, really. And the fish in here, you've got like zebrafish, the old life, the convict fish, some silver valley, the brim, they're quite old actually now, probably 850. You've got the sharks too, of course. The bigger ones, just probably, I'd say, mid-20s, late 20s.
So how that changed?
Oh, honestly, it's getting all that as well. But basically, it's all just about hormones. I mean, look, clownfish, they actually all want male. Last time, they're just female. But, I don't know. And I'll see you at the front desk probably.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's an giant crab.